just for a minute. Close your eyes for a second.
In the now infamous words of Kenya Moore, don't call for me until I send for you, because I am the moment. This is so funny. So funny, but serious at the same time. Now, the event from the vote of episode 4 kind of just ricocheted onto this particular episode. Now, we saw all the effects and the consequences as a result. If you all have been on the internet like I have all through this week, there's been a lot of back and forth. Kenya has made a parting statement. Porsha Williams has now gone on to introduce us into her YouTube chatty channel, where she's discussing all things the Real Housewife of Atlanta, as well as I'm sure other things that she's going to be talking about from an insider perspective. So she knows more than than we know. So she's definitely going to be telling her. But I feel like she also signed a contract, so there's not a lot of things that she can actually say. She might be embellishing this truth, or might be trying to sway us from exactly what is happening, so we can then start having personal opinion before the episodes are airing. So, but nevertheless, we're going to get into the particular rundown of what happened at the Kenya Moore spa disaster. Yeah. Quite unfortunate. She literally, momented her way off the show in a spectacle style. And I don't know what to say. I'm going to give my opinion. But first things first, I'm going to try and piggyback onto the previous episode, and that was episode 4. And this is in part to where Shemia Moore, debuted her single, Never Had. Like I said, I love this particular song. I didn't know she could sing. Now, go download, go listen to this song, and let us give her the numbers so we push this particular single of hers. Now, during this particular sit-down at the vote with the lady, she played this song. And right then and there, Porsha Williams was like, "That's not you, that's Drew Sidora." Pretty much shading her best friend. Now, we know they're best friends from way back, high school and all of that. And here she is trying to sort of downplay her musical talent or her musical come up. It was quite embarrassing and sad to watch that. Okay, your friend is celebrating something. She's trying to be something, trying to give us something, trying to get something going. And here you are trying to downplay it and make it seem very irrelevant, which it's quite uncalled for. And I was kind of taken aback by it. But again, in the true Porsha Williams fashion, she's all for Porsha Williams. Everything else and everyone else comes not even close second. So it is on brand for her to do this. Now, let's just go back again to what is happening on this episode. And before I do, I would like to say thank you to all my subscribers, new Ride or Die fans. Thank you for supporting this channel, my Posh fans. Please continue to support by sharing this channel with your friends, watching my videos, liking and commenting. As I've always said, you never know, the last person that would comment might be getting a shout out from me on my next recap. So this particular episode opened with Shemia, Angela, and Brit came in at some point. They are trying to rehash the event that was, Votegate. Pretty much, Brit, sort of understood that she'd messed up, but then kind of doubled down by saying she overreacted and blaming everything on Kenya Moore for coming at her or trying to come at her sideways. But quite frankly, I do not think Kenya Moore came for this girl. And this is me not defending Kenya Moore. I know Kenya Moore. I have followed her for a couple of seasons. That woman is quite vicious when she comes on an attack mode. And she did not come for this chick. And it was quite clear that Brit saw the moment to have a name for herself, pick on Kenya, who I felt was a little bit vulnerable this particular season, given that she's coming in as a friend of the show, not as a pitch holder. So, and I think, Shemia said it best, you need to go back and apologize, and hoping that Kenya Moore is in the place to receive this apology. We move on from this particular sit down with Brittany to another sit down with Brittany and Porsha. I think Porsha, and this is where I say Porsha is quite two-faced, because Porsha had a sit down with Kenya Moore and Kelly's, where they also talked about this whole incident whilst Porsha Williams was preparing for her spa relaunch, because she had earlier on launched this particular spa, even though production refused to air it from the last season because she did get upset about it. So she's now trying to relaunch it again to see if she can get the notoriety and publicity on this particular venture of hers. Now, in this particular sit down, Kenyamo brought up the fact that Brit Edie, did allude to having weapons that I don't want to mention, those weapons that can actually take you out. And was sort of violent. Like, I know that when we people, like, I have never been in an argument where I'm going to be threatening, that. I don't think it is in me to be that violent. Now, no matter how angry you can get, that is quite unprovoked, given whatever claims that Brit Edie has. It doesn't even justify weapons being drawn or the mentioning of that in the first place. Posha said, "Oh, I don't think I heard it." Well, Posha, you did hear it. She said it multiple times on numerous occasions. So in that moment, I'm like, what is Posha doing? Is Posha trying to play neutral or not take defense, or have production worded her in a way to be neutral because this is going to not get the support that would preempt production to do something about the threats made by Brit Edie? Because for Posha to then piggyback and say, "No, I didn't. Are you sure she said that?" That was quite foul. And Kelis was, of course, to the defense of Brit. Not that Kelis and Brit are friends. They don't seem like they're friends. It was more to the point where we're newbies here. We're still trying to find our waves, and I want to take sides with my newbie bestie now and not, jump into conclusion. She was more to the fact that I have seen Britney and I haven't seen her behave in this type of violent manner. Let's just give her the benefit of doubt. Now, so when Posha had to sit down with Britney, she then again said, "I did not hear. I want you to tell me exactly what happened." Brit Edie sort of did at first deny the fact that tried to. It wasn't really clear, but she eventually then said, "Oh, this is way out of character for me. I realized, I went a bit too far, and I'm still gonna say this Kenyamo was coming for me." Posha said, Kenyamo wasn't coming for you. Kenyamo that I know, when she's coming for you, you're gonna know about it. And well, she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try and make peace by getting her flowers and all of that, blah blah." They did now at the meeting between Posha, Achilles, and Kenya wanted to know if she was still invited. Now, I don't think Kenyamo wanted her there, but for some reason, she couldn't uninvite her. I think production would have said, "Well, it's a group cast event. You want us to shoot your launch, you have to have everyone there." So I think Kenyamo's hands were tied in this situation, and so she needed to have the promotion, she needed to have the publicity, and she had to invite the girl. And what she did at her event, we're going to talk about it because that is particularly the high point of this particular episode, quite frankly. Now we move on from that to Angela. And I'm going to say this, and I'm literally getting a little bit sick and tired of Angela and her family dynamics, okay? Angela had a sit down with her daughter, Omaria. Omaria is 24 years old. There were a few things that were brought up now, and I have my opinion. First things first, Angela's daughter, which she had from a previous relationship, which was quite unfortunate because the girl's dad is no longer on this earth, and according to her, she struggled with this girl, and she sort of, they're like Bonnie and Clyde at this point. What was the issue? Omaria was at her grandparents' house, wanted to drive the grandparents' car. When the grandparents refused, all hell broke loose. I don't know if she was kicked out of the house or she walked out, but I guess there were verbal exchange that happened. Now, I think the comments that Omaria, Angela's daughter, made were quite distasteful. Distasteful in the sense that Omaria alluded to the fact that, we bought this car for grandma. We are pretty much responsible for their bills, and so why are they not grateful enough to shut up? It wasn't said in this exact words, but this is exactly how it came across to me. Now, Angela is having to defend the fact that she's helping her mom. Like, are you defending the fact that you're helping your mom to your daughter, your petulant daughter, who literally is lacking in discipline, lacking in self-respect? You are defending the fact that you're helping your mom. Now, I would have taken sides with Angela and her daughter here. However, I waited to get to the end of this, and it got bad for Angela's daughter, because the next conversation was the daughter got married without telling her mom. So the daughter decided to go and get married, shotgun wedding, eloped, got married, and the mom still had no idea. How did the mom find out? From her own mother. So this mother that we are basically criticizing, blaming for all our troubles, saying they want nothing because you're feeding or taking care of them. Omari, I don't think you have worked a day in your life. Doesn't look like she got a job at the moment. If she does, apologies. However, from my vantage point, doesn't look like it. Okay. And here you are, shutting your mom out from huge milestone, life milestone information. And tell me how that doesn't make you look like a petulant child. Literally, for lack of a better word, a spoiled brat. Good luck, Angela, because you're gonna need it. This one, or Marion, just the beginning of your chaos. I hope she's getting the check from this particular sit down, because she looks like she's thirsty for her spotlight. And it didn't end there, because we saw Angela having this particular conversation with her husband, Oakley. And Oakley was also alluding to the fact that they are helping Angela's folks. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think when Angela, husband, partner, I don't know if they got married, she didn't say, passed, pretty sure she moved in with the mom. I'm pretty sure the mom looked after her daughter for her to be able to get the come up she now has. Because if she didn't have the support of her mom, and I'm not saying that the mom deserved or it's the mom's birthright to be taken care of, okay? But I would assume, because I'm not in their life, that the mom played a pivotal role in her life, especially with the fact that she was a single mom. Now, I stand to be corrected. I stand to be corrected, but I can just see Angela and this particular daughter of hers are having a lot more issues in the coming episodes. But I'm gonna say this, Angela, I know you said you're in therapy, which is a great thing. I think your daughter also needs a few counseling sessions on how to behave and how to be respectful to her elders who have been or who were here before her. It was just sad to watch. Apparently, Oakley didn't want to get involved. Again, they also have their own issues to deal with. The issue of Portia having to make a comment regardless to she's heard something about Angela's husband, and Angela was like, well, did you clock her? Did you check her? To which she said, oh yeah, I did, and she did apologize. I don't think I heard any apology. I don't know if I heard the apology. However, I'm just gonna say, okay, whatever you think, Angela. Like I said, there's so much trouble brewing in this particular union that it will be hard to not get a good laugh out of it. Now, the particular moment that we have all been waiting for, and that is the Kenya Moore hair care spa. You know, we saw the lunch. The ladies were, arriving in their best outfits. Cynthia, who has been a no-show for a while, claiming to have been away, is back and wanted to get in on all the goss. Portia in attendance. We saw Kelly's and Brit, making their way to this particular event. We do find out that Brit has lost a family member, and so she's sort of emotionally going through the motion at the present, with a big, huge bouquet of flowers to present to Kenya. Now, we thought this wasn't going to get to this point, or I would have thought. Now, we all know it did get to that point. Now, let's just get through to the main event. With all of the side talks that were happening, Drew arrived, tried to have a chat with Portia. It didn't go down well. Portia wasn't, receiving this particular sit down or talk or side talk. They were pretty much at each other's throat. I don't think Portia wants to make peace with Drew. Portia is still feeling hard done by Drew. And again, do I think Posh's reaction is a bit over the top. Absolutely, it is, because you have no control over Dennis. Dennis is the father of your child, and rightly so. You're not controlling his brain. You're not controlling what he does. He doesn't owe you anything. He doesn't owe you no loyalty. Now, for you to then begin to show this animosity towards Drew, it's quite uncalled for. They have a business relationship, but I guess we have to play and get a storyline out of this meal kit for as long as, because quite frankly, Portia came in hot, but we're not seeing any breeze. There's no smoke. You know, her storyline is sort of dead on arrival because she can no longer speak on her marriage with Simon. I think the court order literally shut her up. And so it became, I'm going to be scratching and picking literally scraping the surface for any attention that I can get or create any drama just so that I can remain relevant. That's my take. But we're only 5 episodes in, so there's still more to be more discussions and more conversations to be had in this area. Because with everything, it's more on the excuse of I'm going through a divorce. Now, while I know how hard and emotionally draining that is, it doesn't also excuse the bad behavior and the fact that you're not giving the lady the time of day to at least explain herself, because we saw that she did try to reach out to you. She has now tried on camera to reach out with you, try to give you space and time to process whatever you're processing before coming back to her so you guys can have the conversation. And here you are still trying to dismiss her and make her feel like irrelevant. What more? What more can I say? Oh my goodness. Anyway, I guess Cynthia was fed a little bit of what happened, and it was quite getting ready to kickstart. A few presentations were had with hair care. It's basically much as trying to just introduce us to Aspire. All her friends were there, and there were a few charades that really did not make it to air. But I guess just whilst this was all happening, we saw Brit walking in with Kelly's, and she tried to make a small talk with Kenya. Kenya just shoved her, brushed her off, and very quickly decided to call a grand entrance and a grand speech. We thought this particular speech was going to be about her hustle, about how the struggle has been for her. She did talk about the fact that this particular store that she's opening represents the love she has for her daughter. However, that was the only thing we heard. The next thing was more people were trying to steal her spotlight, coming for her, not knowing that she's the moment, she's the day, in fact, she is the season. And so she decided to give us a preview of what was Brit's past. And a few, amplified placards were on display. They're pretty much censored for us, the viewers. But I think on those particular cards that she revealed to the guests that were there were a few revealing things that were not PG rated. Apparently, Brit might have had a very colorful past, literally very colorful past, because what was shared from what we have now been able to get from the internet, they were explicit image of Brit as maybe a sex worker, allegedly. Who knows? Oh God. It was, I think she also was caught in a few, maybe it was an insurance scam or something. I don't know, allegedly again. I don't want to get into trouble here. And whilst when these pictures were revealed, you could see everyone pretty much left their mouths hanging. If there were like 20 flies in there, it won't be enough to go around for everybody because their mouths and jaws were dropped. Like, it was that bad. And I think a lot of the girls were like, this is going too far. This is too much even for you. You need to stop this. This is not the time. This is not the place. But guess what? Kenya was high as a kite because we could see her drinking for confidence to do this. She pretty much, according to her, she went to the internet to do some background checks, some deep dive, and found all these illicit, explicit photos and information on Brit. Now, Brit had left because when the flowers were not received, Brit left. Now, when the first revelation came, Kelly's walked out and said, I'm not going to watch this and allow you disrespect my girl. And we don't know the fallout of this particular situation because Brit would have been informed of what transpired at that spa because she wasn't physically present to see the images that were on display. Now, this is quite scary, and I'm going to now share my thoughts. Now, we know the situation with the threats with weapons were made by Britney. Now, knowing that and given how volatile these people are over there in America, guys, I don't know. I don't live in America, so I can't really say for sure. For Kenya Moore to then go on to do what she did, it tells you she wasn't really scared or felt any threatening situation around the threat that was made. Because if someone threatens me with a weapon that would cause serious harm or, on someone, I would be scared to want to do anything to further antagonize them in a way that would see, a reprisal attack that I might not be able to explain. Now, so for her to have revealed this is one thing. Revealing it on the most important moment for her on this show was quite sad. Now, I think I would say this. To the defense of Kenya, I'm pretty sure Kenya probably gave stipulation to production that she would not film with Brit because she made threatening comments, which is, you're right. And so she probably knew she only had this particular episode to film before she can then make good on her promise not to film with Brit Edie if she isn't off the show. Because we had heard her from episode prior that she was like, this girl is a problem, she needs to go. So I would have think she'd have given production is either her or me. And production was like, well, we cannot make that decision just because we're going to be investigating all that happened. And so when she pulled this stunt, she probably knew she wasn't going to have any opportunity to film with Britney anymore, or have any other events where the girls will be present, or have the kind of audience she needed to have to make this whole thing look like a massive situation. But the reception, or the guests were not receptive to this particular blowout. It was so tacky. It was so low. It was so low. And this is why I feel Kenya should not have made good on her threat or made good on the promise to come for Brit, despite the fact that she was angst. It was in a poor taste. Now, I like drama. I like gossip. I like the dynamics of these women having to go at each other. However, this particular situation was way beyond, an acceptable level. Now, revenge P is a criminal offense here in Australia. Yes, you cannot show people or show someone's explicit photos without their consent. And you cannot show someone explicit image without their consent for viewing. So in both sides, it is a criminal offense. So I don't know why Kenya did this. Kenya is pretty much pushing 50. She has a daughter that would one day, do something. I mean, we're crazy. We're all crazy. We've done worse. We've done a few crazy things that we wish will not be used against us in our future. So why would Kenya choose the one moment for her to shine and shine big, get support, get viewership? She chose to reduce the moment to a laughingstock. It was so distasteful that people refused to even laugh. So I want on the one hand, I see Kenya Moore's point of view, but with the reprisal attack, that was way beyond the means of an acceptable level. Maybe if she had done it at another time, I would have said, well, all is fair in love and war. But then this particular moment, it was not the moment for this. And it's quite sad that this is how she crashed out. Like, she literally fell from grace. She fell so hard. Sometimes we react with our emotions, like our emotions override our thoughts. we are so hell-bent on revenge that we forget we might be leaving trails of, destructions that might even impact us, that have ignited that trail. It's quite unfortunate that this has gone to this point or this level. It ended with the production saying they had to stop filming with Kenya because, this was too much. So this was unacceptable. And I'm pretty sure legal threats would have been made left, right, and center. After this particular episode aired, we saw Kenya Moore coming on air to sort of confirm that, she was suspended. We don't know if it's a full expulsion or a suspension, because we're going to be having conversation around this. Cynthia has come on air and made a few jabby comments to say that, even though she made her feelings known, we saw her making her feelings known, that this was really low of Kenya to do. She loved her, but this was not the moment. Her moment was to shine and shine bright, but she failed. She failed tremendously. And doing this at this stage was so distasteful and uncalled for. She walked off, and she's been making the rounds on the press tour, not doubling down on her comments that were made on the show. Posha has now gone on to express her thoughts, and the fact that the girls had rallied around backstage to support her during the threats that were initially made. But even after the fact, however, it was nothing they all could do, because this was, quite frankly, like new heights. It got its new heights we're talking about here, and they had no choice. But they feel Kenya Moore is feeling unsupported. She's feeling the girls are not supporting her and not standing behind her. But I don't think anyone wants to stand behind you. You are now a train wreck. Nobody wants to be in partnership or be branded with a train wreck. So sorry, Kenya, you have laid your eggs, you laid your bed. I'm just gonna lie on it that way. But I hope, for your sake, that there will be some type of restitution that will be made to let this go. If these two women can sit, in a space where they are able to both hear each other out and end this whole mess, maybe in the future, who knows? Right now, we're going to be following this whole thing, because of course next episode we're going to be seeing the after effects of the trails of disaster that have been left post revenge P-gate. That's it, guys. I have said a lot more than I thought I was going to be saying. Please come on the comment section and share your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. You are deserving. Stay safe and be focused. Remember, your emotions are not you. Do not ever let your anger becloud your sense of reasoning. Thank you. Bye for now.